Well, welcome back to Two Pastors and a Mic. My name is Corey.
And I'm Shannock.
And we have our first ever podcast collab.
Come on.
Yep.
We have, if you've been watching our podcast, the two people on here are not actually new guests. They were either probably last week or the week before.
Right.
But we have yours truly, Jason Clark.
Yeah, man.
Sexiest voice on the internet. And yours truly, Matthew Hester.
Yes.
Welcome back. We're doing a whole thing, Rethinking God with Tacos. The kingdom is for everyone.
That's right.
Which we never promoted your podcast when you were on here, but
It's
if you
all right.
like, again, if you're a podcast junkie,
Yeah.
Matthew
The kingdom is
Hester's
for everyone.
The
Yeah.
kingdom is for everyone.
I've been on it.
Yeah.
Have you been on it?
Nope, never been
Have
invited.
you been on it?
Never been
And
invited.
and if we had our text
Just you.
messages go public, I don't think we'd both have jobs. So I can't believe he hasn't even
I'm
invited
just
me.
glad we didn't hit record like 5 seconds earlier.
Oh
Yeah.
wait, this is just kidding. Just kidding. It's all prayer requests and
You said prayer request?
prayer requests and
I pray for him a lot.
answer-
Yeah.
He doesn't
answer
know it,
prayers.
but I pray
Yeah.
for him a lot. I pray
Please.
for his wife
Yeah.
so much.
Oh
Yes,
my
you
gosh.
should.
And I
You
pray
should.
for Shannock so much.
My
Please
wife
do.
is amazing. But yeah, hey, if you're joining us on the internet, you see these beautiful faces joining us. We're here for Jamie's conference, and it's just been such a good time getting to
Yeah.
know you guys. I know I've had such a blast on your podcast. We've promoted already in the previous episode. And if you're watching from his podcast, hey, welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
So
Yeah. All right, I should be able to say something now because
Heck
I'm
yeah.
also hosting this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
Right?
you
Yeah.
are.
Rethinking
this
God
is
with
your show,
Tacos.
actually.
Yeah, it's in your space, though. I get to host
Come
in your
on,
house.
somebody.
Yes.
Right, that's like an away team coming in and then just basically saying, I'm taking over now.
And
That's
you're sleeping in my house, so
Right.
you best of both worlds.
And you had a box fan, which, by the way, killer. Yeah.
I got kids. It's not my first rodeo.
So I get to say something too.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So-
hold on.
yeah.
He hadn't finished.
Let me,
Well,
Rethinking God with...
I wasn't going to plug my podcast yet.
Oh.
I'm sleeping at Shannock's house. So it's just, again, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out, there's a lot of connections going on here.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
whole
yeah.
lot.
So anyway, please
No,
go
no,
ahead.
I agree with you.
I don't have a box fan for you, Matt. I'm
I
sorry.
got a ceiling fan, so I'm all right.
I have a ceiling fan, too.
Okay, I don't have both. Man, jealous.
Get on
Shannock,
my
come
level.
Pick it up.
Oh, slack.
Pick it up. Okay, go ahead. please.
Rethinking God with Tacos. Hey, guys. It's good to have you here. Hester has been on the podcast several times. You probably get a jacket for this one. That's
Yes.
and then this is your second time. We don't do much for second times.
No
but
point.
this is
You're
kind
gonna
of
get a T-shirt
yeah
for being the first
right,
time.
yeah. Oh, we'll get you a T-shirt.
Prove it.
I don't have anything for you.
No, it's all right.
Well, here we are in Louisville, Kentucky, and like you said, do you guys call him Bishop Jamie?
We
Yeah,
call him
Bishop
Bishop Jamie.
Bishop
Mhm.
Jamie,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
Bishop Jamie Englehart. So, you've been telling me about this conference for forever. You've told me about it a little bit. Baxter Kruger's here. It's been fire so far, killer, and
So far.
and this is fun doing this, connecting with you, man. My good friend Matthew Hester. We spent a lot of time together and getting to meet you guys.
Yep,
Meet
absolutely.
you for the first time.
First time.
So yeah, this is good.
And we shared it on our previous podcast, but your first experience in Louisville with me
Yes,
was a blown out tire.
Yes,
Lady driving. Go ahead.
yeah, on the
Sparks
rotor.
flying.
Sparks
On
flying.
the rotor, not on the rim.
On the way in
on the
last night.
rotor.
Yeah, yeah. On
At
the way in
12:30.
last night.
Did you hear? Yeah, you heard this story.
And I basically said to him, "This is my impression of Louisville."
Yeah.
Which glad. Welcome. We can
You
only
went
go
out
up
of your,
from here.
You went out of your way to
Yeah.
say this isn't. I've never seen anything like
I've
this.
never
before.
seen it. Never seen it ever. And Matthew, why don't you plug your podcast?
Oh, yeah. So it's called The Kingdom is for Everyone, the place to discuss all things righteousness, peace, and joy.
This is not your first
So-
time. I like that.
No, it's not my first time. So yeah, this is part of this is my friends and family podcast episode. And so I'm so glad for my listeners to be exposed to these guys. I know that you've heard Jason before. And if you haven't listened to Two Pastors and a Mic or Rethinking God with Tacos,
Right.
you've got to get plugged into these podcasts because they're going to bless your life. And these are good people in front of the microphone and, outside of the studio
Sometimes.
as well.
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's great to be here, and yeah, Jason, we've kind of shared our story a little bit. First met in 2017 up in Rochester, New York, around
Yeah.
a conference, and I think we were waiting for a table at a restaurant, and it's
Right.
like that was it.
Yeah.
It just hit it off.
Yeah.
And then we realized that we were pretty close proximity wise. It's just been having fun for the last 7, almost 8 years now.
Yeah. I was just down there. We had a great time. I'll be with you again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And we've been on this like pretty crazy rethinking journey. I know you guys have been as well.
So much.
When I'm hosting, I would ask, eventually I'd want to know your story. I know a little bit about, you've been on the podcast. I don't know as much about you. I know, share a little bit about what you do here. For those who watch your podcast, they're just going to get a repeat.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know what we do. For the most part, because we haven't even shared on our podcast.
Yeah.
Unless they know us.
No, it's all good. So, so I've been a part of Hill City my whole life. My
Yeah.
parents were the founding pastors here, and just all things relational with people,
Yeah.
and helping my dad wherever he needed help, whether it was Sunday school, being the janitor, running sound, leading the youth, and they're already being very friendly on the opposite side of the table. I just met you, so I don't know if we're going to be that friendly, Jason, but it's
I don't know if
okay.
you just heard it. I just burped. So I was trying not to let that be
No,
heard.
but took over for my dad when he retired in 2012 as the lead pastor here at Hill
Yeah.
City, and just having a lot of fun. Built an incredible team around me. Last February, turned over all the teaching responsibility over to Corey. That allowed me actually to be way more involved into some community outreaches
Right.
and efforts. We're trying to really make an impact in the community. Speaking of rethinking, what we decided to do is just rethink this whole idea of church,
Right.
and how the church should be about helping people make a difference in the community. And so we started helping create safe family environments through affordable housing solutions. And so we started that last year.
That's
and
awesome.
What do we call it?
Yeah, it's called the Reinitiative.
Nice.
It's all about restoring homes, reviving hope, and rethinking church. And
Come on.
within 8 months, we're up to 5 homes. And all the programs and the things that have developed around this thing have just absolutely been blowing my mind. Nothing's been forced. It's all been in flow. And man, God's just in the whole thing. And it's
Wow.
just crazy. And it's blowing my mind. But the fact that I have such a great team here at Hill City, it allows me the opportunity to have margin to
Right.
be in the community,
Right.
to be with our ministry partners, actually to even be meeting with city officials who are now loving what we're doing.
Right.
And had conversations recently with the mayor of our town, with the redevelopment commission, with the building inspectors. Like, they're blown away by
Yeah,
what
man.
the church is doing. And so it's one of those things where don't have time for the whole story now. Maybe one day on the podcast, either one of them.
Yeah.
One day. But the coolest part is, there's this thing, you might have heard of it. It's called like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And
Yeah.
it's this whole thing, like at a base level, it's like foundational life stuff, like food, shelter, these kind of things. And then when you go up the pyramid of
Right.
these needs, there's things like a sense of belonging and like a higher sense of self. And basically it's kind of talking about what the church mostly has focused on. Like, let's create a safe place for belonging. Let's create places where people can discover God, who
on.
he is, and
Yeah.
who they are.
Right.
But then they leave out the foundational element of a lot of these people don't even know like where their next meal's coming
Right.
from. A lot of people don't have safe environments to lay their head down at night to sleep. And if the church isn't caring about those foundational needs, these people aren't listening to
Right.
what we have to say about
Right. Yeah, yeah.
theology or any of that stuff. And so I just had it in my mind, like, we're gonna do something, and we're gonna make a difference. And there's lots of conversation and inroads to all of how this thing came about. But man, that's just what I've been a part of for the last year, and it's been really, really cool.
And what he didn't tell you is, well, he kind of shared it, but the reality of what his role is as lead pastor. If you were to look at our website and see, oh, Shannick Bannett is the lead pastor of
Right.
Hill City Church. We've had people come to our church for 4 weeks and go, so when's the lead pastor preach?
Right.
Because
I'm on the schedule, I think 11 times
Wow.
this year.
for the whole
Wow.
year.
And you like that? That
He
works.
prefers it.
Oh, that's
He hates
awesome.
preaching. Because this dude,
I won't say I hate it. I just in my life right now, I just have a sense of where God has me and where He's positioned me to be focused on this in this season is where I need to be.
Yeah.
yeah, but like think about that from, I don't know very many lead pastors who not only have the security to surround themselves with
Right.
really gifted people. I mean, we got Britt in this little church just singing her lungs out.
Yeah.
We got guys on this team, girls on this team. They're just phenomenal communicators. And this guy applauds that.
Yeah.
You don't find that often in church cultures from
Yeah.
the lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then not only does he applaud it, this dude loves Jesus better than any human being I've ever met. Obviously, I have a huge adoration for him because who he is off the stage is better.
Right. That's a big deal.
Some people
It
are like,
matters.
oh, they're
Yeah, yeah.
similar. This
Yeah.
dude's the better off
Yeah.
the stage because he's actually loving people
Yeah.
Monday through Saturday, being the church, doing what, in our opinions, what churches should be. And again, you don't have to copy what we do, but you should be involved in your community as a church because if Sunday mornings are all that you have hired for and all that you focus on, you've missed the point of the kingdom,
Yeah.
which is alive and active in you, right? And so I'll never forget staff meeting came in 2018, and he just wiped all of those typical statistics that churches keep track of that I'm ashamed to admit that we were even keeping track of. And he said this statement, and it has changed the culture of our staff. And he said, our Sunday mornings will no longer be the pinnacle of what we do. They'll just be a part of what we do. And it is now seeing it 6 years later, like the fruit, and seeing everybody's kind of like in their sweet spots that we didn't even know existed.
Sure.
And it's just flourishing. It's just fun to do ministry again because, we get called the heretics of our area. You're very Catholic in Louisville or very Reformed.
Right.
And we have women preachers, and we have a lot of beliefs. You guys know the beliefs that people are like, "Oh my gosh!" Right? You get it. You get it. And so it's just real fun to have people be like, "Yeah, okay, you might disagree with our message, but it's really hard to disagree with this guy's love because he's leading the ship."
Come on.
So
that's called practical theology too. I mean, that's what it is, right?
Absolutely.
We were talking about that, I think, on the other podcast. But if it isn't practical, right? If that, then it isn't. We're not doing it right. Like we actually don't understand what it's actually supposed to do, what it's actually supposed to look like, hands and feet. So, dude, I love everything about that, and I also know there's a similarity in your stories. Yeah, because you both stepped into your dad's shoes, and most of the time that doesn't work. That's right. Like most of the time that gets messy, but. I don't know. I know you could speak to it. We've talked about it in depth because it always amazes me. My dad he had a huge impact on my life, but I took over like the construction business. A little more standard. It's very rare that you're able to do that in church. Yeah.
Well, it's actually funny. So when I first met Shannick was in October 2021, and I was in probably the rawest place of my life. My dad had just passed away weeks before, and I'd already made the decision to come up. And I think even foolishly, I said, I'll stick with my plans. Like I had no business being out in public. Right. In my mind, I felt like I was a raw nerve. So I came to this environment, and these guys and really the whole team embraced me in what I thought was like rock bottom in a large degree. Right. And but one of the funny times was in the meetings. This is the leadership gathering they have once a year. Shannick, he's like, I've got a testimony that is pretty rare, and you just
don't
hear
simple but unique. I thought it was unique. I thought so.
Yeah. And so I remember this. So he shares his testimony, and I was like, well, so like Shannick, I pastor the church my parents founded.
I've got a unique.
They started it back in 1985. My wife and I took it over in 2015, and he's sitting over there like, well, shoot, maybe
it's not as unique as I thought.
No, but it's great. And now again, very. I would say a lot of similarities, but then also a lot of differences. I mean, there has to be. Yeah. So like for me, I learned how to run a church into the ground. It only took me like 8 months. I knew how to tear a church apart, Yeah. And so we've been rebuilding culture the years that we've been pastoring now, and finally now starting to get to the good stuff into a large degree. But seeing examples like you guys and what you're doing here at Hill City is a huge inspiration for us, because we're like, okay, just keep at it. There are others that are modeling a healthy picture of what you can aspire to, and so you guys are an inspiration for sure.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, a lot of his leadership right there.
Yeah, and
you're the similar way, man. I think that's why I'm so attracted to what you're doing, and because you're the same way. Everything about you is about relationship. And you do a really good job of loving people well. I watch behind the scenes. I'm just how do these people interact with people?
Well, let me just speak on Jason's behalf, not for him, but so when I was growing up, one of the many things my parents taught me, I think I mentioned on the episode that we did before, that my parents taught me was if you're real, you attract real people, and so that's something that just sunk deep into my subconscious, and so. People like Jason, it was easy for me to connect because he's leading with what is. I say you're as real as you know how to be in the moment, and that's the best any of us can do. But unfortunately, now we're seeing the tide shift. But the church has been the master at masks and the master at the masquerade of it all, and so it's been exhausting being in the church. And trying to discern what's real and what's not with people that you're supposed to love and trust. Yeah. And so, especially in a leadership capacity, everyone wants you to be authentic and real, but you're not sure if anybody else is, right? And so it's very difficult. So then to be around leaders that are authentic, again, is an inspiration. So Jason, I think that speaks a lot to you as far as I'm concerned.
No,
Yeah.
I felt that. That's the biggest shift in my life happened 15 years ago, and I've told the story a lot on my podcast, and because this is a shared podcast, I'm not going to go into it in depth. But the major shift was I discovered how to live from instead of for.
Love it.
And so, and the best way to describe it quickly is, for most of my first 35 years of my life, desperation was the high watermark of spiritual maturity, in my understanding. And you can't be authentic when you're desperate. You're always insecure in a room. The shift happened through profound encounter and a whole lot of series of events. But on the other side of that, I would have described up till I was 35 that Jesus this is my son whom I love, with him I'm well pleased. And I might not have said it then, but in hindsight, I was living it. And it would have been like, what was the Father pleased with? He hadn't done anything yet. Because my idea of ministry was his entire life, and my idea of my life didn't have any of those markers. So how did he get a well pleased before he did the stuff? But when the shift happened, I began to realize that I'm living from his pleasure. I already have the well pleased. Everything he did from his Father's love, from the place of sonship, out of his Father's pleasure. And then what that means is you can walk into any room and be authentic. I think the thing you're talking about, and you guys could speak to this, is I think we're in a shift where, like, I'm not a great preacher, but I know how to be me. Like, and I know that if I'm me on a stage, fully confident in who I am, like desperation's an illegal activity to participate in as a son, right? So if I'm fully me and fully present here, being loved, then I love in turn, and that's authentic and it lands. And I think we're in the shift where, I don't know if the Passion version, if he gets it right, who wrote it, Passion version of the Bible, Bill.
I can't remember his name right now.
I know. I just lost it.
We're friends too. That's embarrassing.
I know. This is
Wow. We'll edit this out. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't edit it.
Had him on the podcast all of a sudden.
I don't know who you guys are talking about. So
the Passion version.
The Passion translation.
The Passion translation. I don't know if he got it right. You'll give me the name in a second. But Greek-wise, I don't know if I didn't check it up academically. Right. But I no longer call you servants. I call you friends. Is how
Brian
you would read
Simmons.
it. Brian Simmons.
My goodness.
Yeah, I messed you up when I said
Sorry,
Bill.
Brian. Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
We love you, Brian.
Brian Simmons' Passion
Brian, we love
version
you so much.
gets it right. He says, I never called you servants.
Yeah.
I call you most beloved friends. For a servant doesn't know the mind or heart of the master, but a friend, I tell everything the Father's revealed to me. I think we're in a season of coming into such a friendship, living from, that there's that authentic. Like, for too long, we've had servants telling us what God's like, and they're just guessing.
Right.
Because he only tells that stuff to his friends, right? And I think that's the shift. I think that's what you're talking. Like if there's anything that's happened in my life, is I'm learning how to be his friend.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. And then from there, you can be present in the room, and it lands.
You've downplayed your ability to speak. That's the second time you've done it this weekend, and the first time you did it, it was in the panel, and I literally looked over to him. I said, he just said that more eloquently and clearly than anybody else. And then Baxter was like, you just did a clearer presentation. And then you just did it again. And I listened to your last sermon that Dub put out. You're a fantastic communicator. Don't downplay that.
You're very kind, man.
And I told Corey, I was like, Jason needs to chill out. Like, we know he's brilliant. Now it's
are.
okay. We'll still let you have a pass because we're friends.
I'm blushing.
But we all know.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can tell a story. I can spin a yarn. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I can for sure. It don't
Big
matter what
fish.
the story is either with that voice. I'm promising you right now.
I'm glued.
Did you hear about the van going down the highway?
But I know.
Sparks flying.
This became an SNL skit real quick.
I actually love what you just said, though. Like, this idea of, it's not that no longer I call you servants. Like, at one point he did,
Right.
but it's no, I never called you servants. And
That was our idea.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's amazing. I think it's just such a beautiful picture of identity.
Yeah.
And I know for me, because you asked us to speak on it just briefly, but when I think about being raised in the church, and I think it was Bill Vanderbush earlier, whenever you guys were having the panel, he was talking about now his kids, he hopes, and grandkids won't be raised in the same environment in a certain way to to make them think that
Right.
they're less than
Yeah.
or that they're born outside of love somehow. And he just mentioned he just got back from like Belfast, Ireland, and the pastor's wife got up after hearing Bill preach, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's the God I knew at 4 years
That's
old."
right. Come
And then I
on.
had to go to church to learn,
Come on,
wait, that
man.
I wasn't that,
Yeah.
or I didn't have that relationship with him, or he's not a good dad like I
Right.
thought at 4 or 5
Right.
years old.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I got a little emotional earlier when you guys were in the panel, just when he was sharing that, thinking like if we could get to a place where we
on.
reveal to people, especially to the next generation, that they are his beloved, that they are
Come on,
friends
bro.
of God, that they are children
Yeah.
of God, sons and daughters, permanent identity. It just is going to be such a game changer. And I think we're in the beginning of just something that is going to just become so beautiful, because I see it happening all over the world
I
in
do
this
too.
language and
Yeah.
things that are like just coming to mind, and revelation that the Spirit's just pouring out, and it's just awesome. So thank you for sharing that. I love that.
Yeah. And hopefully our kids never know a dualistic God
Right.
like we
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
to be honest. You're going to hear from Brittany. She wrote a couple songs over the last year. I don't know if you guys have listened to them. She's going to sing Holy of Holies tonight. Just this incredible
Beautiful.
revelation that we're his Holy of Holies.
Come
and he's
on.
always been us. But tomorrow morning, you're going to hear this song called Heaven Walking, which was her first release. And my favorite lyric, to piggyback what you just said, is the first lyric of verse 2. It says, "I'm not an orphan anymore. I never really was. I
Come
just
on.
forgot that I was yours."
Come on.
And that speaks to that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've never been an orphan.
Yeah. We just forgot.
You just forgot.
Yeah.
No, a friend of mine says
That's
that
good.
what he does, he doesn't do for prosperity, he does for posterity.
Yeah.
He said, because now I'm beginning to be aware the generations coming after me are going to inherit what we're building right now. And so I think about my own kids. Like, my kids would be confused. I mean, seriously, if they went to a church and were taught that God is anything other than love,
Right.
they would be confused if there was a message of distance and separation. Now, honestly, they'd be confused if they heard a message about the devil or hell. They'd be
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
don't know what this is. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because again, I'm able to, we all have this privilege to spare others of the trauma a lot of us had to walk through
Right. Yeah.
in our spiritual journey,
Yeah.
which actually it wasn't necessary trauma, right? It didn't have to happen.
Right.
But that
some
we can
ways it was
recognize
abuse.
it. Oh, a lot of it
Call
was
it what it
abusive.
is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I think of that too. You know, I mean, obviously as a pastor, I'm thinking about the congregation, but hey, my kid, as long as my kids get it, you know, that's what matters the most to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's going to pass down generationally. And real quick, and I know you got to take this thought. Bill Vanderbush, this is my three-peat, so take that, Bill. Bam. I've been on 2 pastors and a mic more than you have. So, okay, so sorry. I'm sorry. Back Jason.
No, that's good.
Okay, yeah.
We'll get Bill on here tomorrow.
And I'm going to go on again a couple more times because now that this is a competition, I'm in. My wife, she was replying, and she actually shared this. We were with some other friends a couple days ago, but she was retelling the story when she was 5 on a Sunday, went home after Sunday school, and had her one and only panic attack. So she's 51. So at 5, she had her only panic attack she's ever had. And it was so bad that parents put her in the car, and she sat in the back seat between her grandmothers. And on the way to the hospital, she thought she was going to die. And so she told her grandmothers, I don't want to die. I don't want to go to hell. And so she prays the prayer. They lead her in the prayer. And so she gives her heart to Jesus. Panic attack ends, and they turn around, they go home, and they whistle, and it's beautiful. For 45 years, she told that story, and we'd all kind of laugh, like, isn't that hilarious, right? Like, you kind of would like, because it was all we had, and God's good, and he steps inside our storytelling, and it was, she did meet Jesus. Like, you don't want to take anything away from the reality of where he meets us. He meets us all along the way. But it was about 5-6 years ago where she was processing through, and she said, you know, that Sunday I probably had been taught for the first time about the kind of separation that comes in the line of penal substitutionary atonement, or this idea of hell. And my wife's been a children's pastor, and we began to revisit that, and all of a sudden it wasn't cute, it wasn't funny, it was child abuse. I'm not saying that those who taught that were well-meaning, good intention.
Sure.
That's not what I'm saying.
Sure.
I'm saying our kids should never have to navigate that manipulative idea. The only panic attack my wife's ever had at 5 years old was this fear of separation that had somehow been given to her by those that we're supposed to trust. And again, it's not a knock on those folks. They were doing their level best, but I think we're awakening in this moment to the no Sherlock.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that on
Yeah,
here?
you are.
Go ahead. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah.
This is not the gospel.
Yeah.
This is not my 5-year-old heart knows what the goodness of God is. Like, you don't like we were talking before we hit record. The unsaved don't have to be convinced that God is good and not have to do mental gymnastics around it unless they've already bought into something we told them that was otherwise, right? Like we know in our knower what love is, and I think we're in the middle of a shift where our kids, because my kids, that's just nonsense. If they heard that, they just go, "Man, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard." Like, I call BS on that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what an honor, you know. I think too. I want to quote Father Richard Rohr, which I don't know how much you guys have read him and listened to him. He's really become a hero of mine, especially in a lot of my transition into more Eastern thought. You know, growing up a Western Christian, it's a challenge to our sensibilities for sure. But I'll never forget in one of his podcasts, he was talking about theology, and he said it used to be, you know, so he's talking about defining what a theologian was.
Right.
And so he said in the early church, if a theologian was one who was recognized as being given to much prayer.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's a huge divergence from where we are today. Now it's just guys that think about Scripture and try to explain things in terms that nobody can understand. Yeah. And then he went on to say...
And prayer wasn't petitionary either.
No. Yeah. So he went on to say, and I'm talking about relational prayer.
Yeah, that's it.
So theologians were recognized by their deep relationship with God and with others. And I thought, we need to reclaim that.
That's it.
That terminology and demonstrate that's what true theology is.
Yeah.
It's deep relational richness with God and with others.
That's it.
We're not in some stuffy room somewhere in our libraries like, oh, I'm a theologian because I believe all this stuff, whatever. Nobody can understand but me.
Right.
No, it's
nobody cares about but me.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about but me. But no, you actually you know how to love people well.
Yeah.
Who knew that was such an original idea?
Yeah, come on.
You know,
crazy that's an original idea.
Right.
You know that speaking of Richard Rohr, that's of all the people that I've read, and I like reading people that I agree with and people I disagree with.
Right.
Just because
Which one am I?
Yeah. I can't say it. But I remember of all the people that I talk about, Richard Rohr was the first person that someone warned me about.
Oh, really?
Oh, be careful, Richard Rohr. And now of all the people that I read, I'm like, that's the guy we're going to focus on?
Right. So quick shameless plug for Present Truth Academy. So I did a 10-week study on Trinity. And this happened literally, again, within the time my dad passed. So I'm diving into perichoresis.
Yeah.
You know, my dad passes, so I'm now navigating grief with God as a partner in the journey, which is very different from what I believed growing up, right? And I'm reading Richard Rohr and I'm studying not only the Divine Dance. That's my favorite book by Richard. There's several that are great. That's my top 5 of all time. So if you never read the Divine Dance, read it.
I'm going to say Universal Christ.
It's one of the first books.
That's my favorite.
Listen, it's one of the first books when I finished it. I turned it over and started it again. Because
backwards?
No,
I turned it. To be really impressed.
Well,
why did you turn it over?
Okay. Anyway,
read it in Hebrew.
So I was reading the Divine Dance and the Great Dance by Baxter Kruger at the same time,
right?
Because those were kind of like my study resources for Trinity. Yeah. And again, what Richard brings to the table when it comes to that relational richness, you know, is I don't know if I can find better material out there. So I just encourage you. Man. Now, again, it's more Eastern thought process, and he's Catholic. Now, can I say this real quick? Just, you know, I grew up. I grew up.
Why do I get touched?
I grew up because you're the closest to me. I mean, I could touch Jason's hand.
There you go.
So, Shannon, bless you in Jesus' name.
No,
so
he's
like, I'm
touched
good.
enough.
Right.
He's around me.
So when I grew up, I don't know if I was taught it directly, but the implication was Catholics weren't even saved.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They have a totally different faith than we do. Right.
Yeah.
And so then I was blown away when I started reading more of the Catholic tradition. I was like, wait, these guys have been practicing faith for a long time before the Protestants had a claim on anything. First of all, that's the first thing. And then secondly, I promise you, I'm not making this up on the camera and on audio. The Holy Spirit put me in check because I used to say the Catholic faith. Holy Spirit said it's the Catholic tradition. It's not a different faith.
Yeah.
So you need to lean into the faith of the family.
Yeah.
They've got faith that you need.
That's right.
And you need to receive from them.
That's
you need to
good.
stop creating us versus them.
That's good.
That's all of our favorite game anyway.
Yeah.
Oh.
Us versus us versus them.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of difference in what they believe, but it's the same faith and the same family.
Yeah,
And I said,
100%.
okay, so I submit.
Yeah, we were doing a planning for sermon series recently, as we had all our team, all the wives, everybody's invited, because we're not going to have guys in the room only, and then just to have them go home to talk with their wives, them to control. Why not have them in the room in the beginning?
Yeah.
Just so we know. I don't
Especially
know.
if you're going to decide the place of women in ministry.
Right.
Exactly.
Women
So
in
we're
ministry.
all
probably invite them into the room.
Maybe
You would think.
You would think
You would
if you're
think.
going to decide that.
That's heretical here, though, in Louisville. Oh, dear God. And so anyways, yeah, my wife was like, so this sermon series we were talking about it's just really a sermon series called There's No Them.
Yes.
Because that's the whole idea of,
That's it.
yeah, there's only us.
That's
That's
it.
right.
Some people just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
There you go.
And even people that we think are on the dividing fact, that you can learn something. I'll never forget, I think it was you challenged me, because he really challenged me on my spirit of criticism. Now, remember, I'm a megachurch pastor kid.
Right.
And only know that. So you get trained how to be critical.
Right.
And so I bring that to this smaller church thing, and everything's got to be, what I would say is excellent was really just perfectionism.
Sure.
Oh, that's
Or
I carry this.
performance.
I carry the spirit of
Yeah.
excellence or performance. And
Yeah.
Shannon's like, no, you carry the spirit of perfection. You got to get that out.
Yeah.
Because it's not helpful.
It's not,
And I remember, and I don't even remember what I was going to say. What do you remember? What you challenged me with?
Probably not.
No, I forgot it. Good talk.
I mean, we were talking about the Catholic traditions and stuff.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, he said every single person you meet, you can teach them something, but you can learn something
That's
from
good.
them. And I remember thinking, dang.
You
Yep.
were like, darn, he's right.
Yeah. Dag nabbit.
Yeah.
Well,
Skabulon.
and let me remind you of this real quick. Is a quote I just ran across from Brad Zerzak. The art of storytelling is to have a point. So I'm
Yep.
just reminding you of that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Touche.
No, it's
Well
all
played.
good. I don't know. For us, of course, you had to pass one of the biggest Catholic churches in our
Have you seen it yet?
community.
I didn't take it that way.
I think we
Right
did on the
down
way to
the
the
street.
I
restaurant
passed
up
some,
on the corner.
I passed some buffalo.
Was
And,
it St.
some
Mary's?
cows, and
St.
some
Mary's?
Donkey.
Oh,
donkey.
you didn't bring him up St.
I
Mary's
haven't
Road?
taken him
No,
this
I
way
did.
yet.
There was some
Oh, you
chicken.
Is
did?
it called St. Mary's?
St.
Yes.
Mary's,
Lots
yeah.
of trees,
That's a
It's
beautiful
literally
building.
half mile. It's one of the biggest.
We saw it. We passed it.
fences.
It's beautiful. You can't.
One of the biggest Catholic communities
Grass.
in all of.
You guys
Southern
are out
Indiana.
here like you're like
Mennonites.
There's some
It's all
Mennonites.
good. No, it's all good. It's all right. I was just going to
Shannon's
say
wife's
that.
out there turning butter.
Sorry,
She
there's
she
two
would
of us
like
here now.
us. Oh yeah, I know, right? No, she would like us to go. My wife, by the way, would like us to go back in time to like Little House on the Prairie.
My wife
and
too.
She she loves all that.
Yeah.
Not my
And,
wife.
Yeah.
Not my wife.
My wife.
She's-
Well, she would like to do it for just a couple hours a day, and then still
yeah,
have the
get back in.
AC,
Yeah.
when it's over.
She paid her dues,
Yeah,
but back
yeah.
to reality.
Yeah, get to dress up and wear the
Yeah.
the whole get up.
But anyway, so I was telling you about my mom and dad and how they were the founding pastors here, where almost all the families came out of the Catholic tradition,
Right
and
down the road.
Catholic
Yeah.
church that was right down the street. And we were demonized and vilified, and we were this cult now, taking people away from the Catholic tradition and the church. And but I remember my dad saying, "Look, they can make us out to be an enemy, but the truth is we have no enemies. So
That's right.
those are our Catholic
Come
brothers and sisters."
Mm.
And that's how I've always looked at it. Those are our brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And it's clearly
Yeah.
in the DNA of what you're doing now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the foundations he laid, I mean, in the conversation we're having and the evidence of me walking through this building, it's woven into the DNA. There is no othering. There is
Yeah.
no them. Everyone's welcome at
Yeah,
the table.
it's only
so.
us.
We appreciate
Only
that.
us, yeah.
That's our goal for real. Yeah, because like we can preach. I like to preach.
Sure.
Preaching's easy.
Yeah.
You know what I really love to do is so I'm part of the counseling team and more outreach than a lead pastor. How about we just redefine what a lead pastor should be like? How about
Right.
that? You're
Right.
you're paving the new blueprint for what lead pastors should be. But like, yeah, I'd rather get into the trenches, the one-on-one. Let's stop talking about symptoms. Sermons are great, but sermons don't change your life.
Yeah.
Let's get into what's going on in your soul, and let's break off some childhood traumas, but most likely let's break off some religious traumas,
Right.
Yes.
which stem from
Right.
well-meaning people teaching us things wrong about the Father.
Yeah, they're doing their level best, but it's pretty sweet where we are now.
been fun.
And what's really cool is, and maybe this is the ultimate confidence, but I'm convinced that there's an Emmaus Road Jesus that's traveling with every single one of us, when you feel that kind of, in the podcast that I do, a lot of folks that listen would call themselves deconstructing. They'd use that term.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you feel about that term. I, a long time ago, decided I'd embrace it and go ahead and say, hey, yeah, deconstructing is a great thing. As long as we understand we're not going to deconstruct certainty to its, if you remove all certainty, then you've just got a mess, right? And so the idea is when you swing your legs out of bed in the morning, there's gravity. So you may not realize it, but you're building your life on something. And so the certainty that I have is that God is like Jesus. How many minutes we got?
No, you're good. I'm
3.
No, it's
He's
me and Corey
sign
being
language to
immature.
me.
It's fine.
1.
Go ahead. Please.
When you swing your legs out of bed,
Don't pay attention to us.
gravity hits.
No, but
Yeah.
the certainty of this greater love that lays his life down, essentially. I lost my track.
Way to go,
It was,
Hester.
it was
This is your
Corey's fault.
You talk about
swing your
the
legs out of bed.
deconstruction point of it,
Yeah.
and just to have that one thing, like I'm.
What are
certain
you
that
certain
God
about?
is good.
Yeah.
I mean, I can answer your question for you because I know you
but
talk
go
about
ahead
it all the time.
Well, speak to it. 'Cause-
Well, I mean, so when we're deconstructing, you still have to have something that you're building on.
yeah.
And it's a mantra I learned from you, probably back when I was crazy enough to take God is not in control and teach it for 8 weeks at the church.
Right.
I took 2 months to totally
Did
dismantle.
you give him credit?
No, they didn't get
Wow.
any credit. I got credit for it.
At least we gave you credit when we took your thing, and you were giving me a hard time.
So
I
basically,
wrote a book called God is Not in Control.
yes,
That's what he's talking
and what
about.
it does, it deconstructs.
He's making money off it. You owe him some royalties.
So it deconstructs the classic notion of sovereignty,
Yeah.
like what I was taught in Bible school, and our default concerning sovereignty, and this is man's filter, is God controls all things. So in our minds, that's how we measure supreme power and authority. For whatever reason, it's pretty twisted when you think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, my ability to be all powerful is control everything.
Yeah.
So we project that onto God. It's like Rorschach imagery. Hello, the Rorschach guy.
Another
right?
plug. You're
So-
clever. You're more clever.
For those who don't know,
You
he
dirty
has a-
dog.
He has a book coming out called The Rorschach
July
God.
16th.
Go to hesterbook.com, please. To
And buy
pre-order.
it.
Yeah.
And I actually am
you-
serious about that.
Me too. July 16th.
Actually,
I got the date down.
You
all
killed it.
3 guys at this table wrote recommendations for it. So don't.
I
act
read
like
it.
You
I read
okay,
it.
All right.
It's great.
I mean, I didn't read it. But
You wrote a recommendation.
But I
I didn't
wrote it.
read
No,
it.
I told
Your
you that.
assistant read it. Told you
When you put a 20 in his hands, it's amazing what he'll give you. So
Oh, you only paid him 20? You gave him 100.
what, he gave you 100?
Yeah, weird.
Okay, guys, save that for after the podcast is over. No, so again, what Jason submits in the book is his supreme power and authority is love.
Yeah.
That's always been who God is. It's what compels and restrains God, and for us to reflect His character and nature. That is our supreme power and authority.
Yeah.
So all that condensed down to say this: these are the certainties. He is good. We're loved.
Yeah. And it looks
Everything
like
else is negotiable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like Jesus.
Yes. So
Yeah.
So 3.
And or 1.
the
Yeah.
author can say whatever
Trinity.
he wants to say. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that's it, man. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
And when you've got that, and then you realize that, and I started by talking about the Emmaus Road. When you realize that this love, this other-centered, self-giving, always good love, is walking down any road, every road, with every one of us, whether you've said yes to him or not, whether you know who he is or not, that he's there and he's revealing himself to you. It brings this level of peace and confidence. I think it empowers you to go, hey, we can change the model. Hey, we can revisit what it looks like to explain what God is like. Like there's the liberty to be able to go, I don't have to operate in the restrictions of this particular theological construct or ideology. I don't know if I'm making any sense now.
You are totally.
Yeah.
But that's the it's called the good news for a reason, I guess.
That's
is
right.
what I'm saying.
That's
So
right.
It's that simple.
And
Yeah.
I'll say everything that you just said has become a life mantra for me personally, because when you get it, my thing is I'm trying to help people believe they matter.
That's it.
Because I don't need your praise to feed my ego.
Yeah.
Because I'm secure in who I am as a son.
Yeah.
I've gone to the Father already.
Yeah.
So let me pour out everything that the Father's already poured out to me. If you don't want it, you don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt me because I'm
Yeah.
not living for your
And when you
praise.
leave, you don't bring me with you. The
Yeah.
Emmaus Road Jesus is still walking
Yeah.
with you.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
Please believe that you matter.
yes,
Because you do, and you
Yes.
can contribute to the kingdom of God because it's already alive and active in you.
come on,
That's my message. So
that'll preach.
It will.
come on, somebody.
That's good stuff.
I love you all.
That needs to be a whole episode right there. That's good stuff.
Hey,
on your podcast episode? when you
Yes,
finally
absolutely.
Invite me on.
Yes, yeah. I'll send the invites as
Shots
soon as we
fired.
finish up. I've got to now. I've been called out.
Well, I just remember listening to you guys record on a balcony because all I could hear was the ocean in the background.
That was a sweet time.
Do you remember that? It was a
I-
great episode, by the
Do
way.
I remember
That was an amazing time, actually.
It was a good episode.
Except for all the.
I couldn't control the birds. I'm sorry, man.
But it was good. I
We
liked
were on the 8th floor.
Oh, you guys were together.
Yeah.
overlooking
recording.
the ocean.
See, I remember.
Randall Worley and group was inside. That was a sweet weekend.
It was.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
This is the best part of the journey we're on right now. Getting to do this with you guys.
Heck yeah.
Getting
Cheers to this.
Participate in these conversations, the new friendships that are being built. Bruce Walkup, if you know that name, he's a Australian fellow, good friend of Baxter's. It's spelled with Chopi, but pronounced Walkup if you're looking for him. I'm not going to give you the spelling, but he said he's been teaching union for 20 years, and if you were to, he said for the first 20 years he taught union, and if he was teaching to a group of 100, maybe one person in the group would get it. He said in the last couple of years he'll be teaching union grace to a group of 100 people. He said everyone in the room is getting it.
Yep.
Love it.
And isn't that fun?
So fun.
That's awesome.
I mean, we've got this big corporate yes. I feel like it's in the ether.
And you're prophetically speaking it into existence where it's not your current yes. Come on, somebody.
Richard Rohr is not the scariest guy to read
No
anymore.
way.
And
No,
I
no.
would still recommend reading Richard
Yes.
Rohr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and scary in all the right ways.
That's right.
Yeah.
Scary if you just want to find out who God really is.
That's right.
Because he's better than you think he is.
That's
Absolutely.
exactly it. And we've done it once again.
Come
We've
on,
had
son.
better thoughts about who he was than previously.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Probably
That's
just
the
because
point.
my experience with three image bearers of Christ right
That's
here
it,
in
right
front of me.
there.
Look at you. You're included in that. Hester.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for the humble shout out.
I hope the audience has understood that we just enjoy each other for real. But yeah, I
real.
love talking about Jesus, but I love talking about Jesus with people who love him
Amen. Yeah, me
and
too.
preach a
me
better
too.
version.
Like him.
Yeah.
You just like him. We love him. So
And love
I'm
like
just
him.
kidding.
I said love like him.
Oh shoot, I missed that. I see. Sometimes I run my.
Because here's the deal:
You
you,
were
can say
giggling.
all day you love Jesus, but
Do you love
the
like
proof
Jesus?
is,
Is it
do you
practical?
love like him?
Do you love
Are
like
you
him?
loving
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
Right.
Are you
like you
one
say you love
anothering
Jesus.
one another better?
That's other-centered, self-sacrificial agape.
Yep.
Laying
Yeah.
down your life for your friends.
Are you one another?
I'd lay my life down for you, Hesty.
Are
No, that was Andy
you-
Stanley.
Are you?
Why don't we one another better?
there you go.
I'm going to need to hear that a few more times before I actually.
Why don't we one another better?
Okay.
You got to do it now.
Why don't-
Big one. Why don't we one another better?
Better.
It's pretty good. Andy Stanley,
A-
Corey Rice,
Andy Stanley, Corey Rice, copyright, all rights.
Shannon Bannett, Michael Scott,
Michael
Wayne
Scott,
Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
That's good.
You want to close it?
Why don't
close
we
it?
one
You-
another better?
Oh man,
was
we
that?
just did the quad.
Dang.
I love it.
I love it.
All
Yeah, it was
right.
beautiful.
But that's not what you wanted me to
hey.
say.
Oh, no.
No,
Go right ahead.
who knows it?
Hey, real quick, if we're going to do this right, we got to talk tacos.
Oh, that's
Touche.
100%.
Because on my podcast, it's not over till we've talked tacos.
Okay.
Mm.
He's actually never done this, and I'm so upset we're recording it right now because we're going to take you on an eclectic taco journey tomorrow.
With,
Which maybe your closing or your intro,
with
you can
mac
talk
and
about
cheese,
it.
with mac
Maybe.
and cheese and hard taco and soft taco. You told me
Yeah.
about
I know
it
you've
when
had
you came on.
hundreds
That's
of
the one you
tacos.
want.
I'm hoping that this
It's
is
a different experience.
What's it called?
agave and rye.
So agave and rye. I'll speak to it tomorrow. But I got to hear taco
wh-
story.
A taco story?
Yeah, like
Best
Okay, here's
taco
the
I've
thing.
ever
taco
had.
story.
Well, I don't know. Okay, the best taco story I have right
I mean,
now.
it can be the worst taco you've ever had. I don't care.
No,
Just a
it's
taco
okay. I'm
story.
Tell him the
trying to
one
think
that
of the
gave
best.
you diarrhea.
I've got a couple of those on.
No, that's out of nowhere. He's just pulling that out. I don't really have a great taco story other than that. Of course, I'm not a vegan, vegetarian, plant-based at all.
Why are you taking
The
shots
guy
at me?
on the other
I
side of the
don't- I don't-
table
I'm not
may
that
or
guy.
may
Right.
not be.
So
Right.
he doesn't really have any great taco
No,
stories.
I
But he
do.
was
What
telling
Shannon's trying
me,
to say.
I've
but he
had-
was telling me about this like
I'm gonna fight all of it.
vegan taco that they have at Agave and Rye where we're
Okay.
going
All right.
because it's meatless.
All right.
And I'm like, there's no way I will like this taco.
Right.
Well, it's a deep fried cauliflower instead of meat. And I'm
Okay.
like, I don't like cauliflower. There's no way.
I hear you.
I had it for the first time maybe a little over 2 years ago. And I will say it is now my favorite
Shut
taco on the planet.
Deep
and
fried
I go,
cauliflower.
and I probably go
What?
once a month to the
Wow.
place we're going to take you
Wow.
tomorrow to get this
Just for that
bang
taco.
bang taco.
I can't
deep
believe you
fried
just said that.
cauliflower.
I love
Wait a
it.
He's so hold on. Corey is so mad right now because that's his favorite taco, and that's
He
the story
knows.
he wanted to tell.
No, I've already been on the podcast and told it.
But it's just favorite taco story. That's the story I got.
Wait,
Like,
so
it's
you're able to-
mind blowing.
He forgot one.
It's mind blowing.
He's forgotten.
You're
one.
able to hurdle the mental reality
It's mind blowing.
that it's cauliflower.
I don't understand. I should not
One
like this
time-
taco, but I love this taco.
I get it. One time I went out and my wife got fried spinach,
Interesting.
and it was unbelievable.
Isn't
But
it weird?
I still couldn't get over the fact it was spinach.
That's crazy.
So I'll try it. I'll try it tomorrow.
Okay, well, before I went
Yeah.
plant-based,
No.
2018.
So wait a sec. How come you have to start with before I went plant-based?
Because I used to eat meat.
Right, yeah, but doesn't that say something?
Yeah.
That your best taco story starts with before I went plant-based?
Well, it's not my best. I was saying one of ours. Do you not remember when we went to Guatemala? Not only the street tacos that we were very sketchy as are we going to get sick, but they were amazing. But then we went to that one restaurant, and it was, what's the meat? Texas famous meat, brisket.
Brisket.
They
Ah,
had
yeah, yeah.
a brisket taco with like these pickled onions
Thank you, Lord.
and this pico, and then
Come on.
the verde, the
getting
green
chills.
sauce. Oh my gosh! And it had like this queso on it. It was
Yeah.
one of the best tacos I've
Yeah.
ever had in my life.
Well, to bring some context to that story as well, we're in Guatemala, and actually
Okay.
Guatemalans don't really eat a lot of tacos. It's
Right.
not like
Yeah.
a staple for
Right,
them.
yeah.
And so we're like, dang it, we all really wanted tacos. We were thinking more like Southern Mexican food, like
Right,
it's right
yeah,
on the border of
right.
Mexico at the south. But the lady there's like, no, but like Antigua is at the base of a couple of
Yep,
volcanoes.
I've been there.
And she's like, you guys might want to go check out Frida's. It's not really Guatemalan. It's a Mexican restaurant for all the tourists that come in to do the volcano tours.
All the
and stuff.
tourists that
The
are
one taco.
And
looking
this
for
is where
tacos.
we had the taco at Frida's,
Fritos.
right in front of the arch
Come on.
in
I know the
Antigua.
arch. Beautiful
Uh,
town.
Right, literally the restaurant next door to the arch.
Okay.
Same
right,
alley.
right after we
been
walked
there.
through the
Yep.
Doozy Koala. So
The-
if you
yeah,
know
the
much
Doozy
about,
koala.
we can't share what that is about here, but
I've been there
favorite
many
taco.
times. To Guatemala, to Antigua.
Oh,
Anyway,
Antigua.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, I've got lots of stories around tacos, but our recent
Yeah,
visit
I know.
to what was that place? Condados? Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
Condados.
yeah.
What was the name of that chicken taco, dude? That
Man.
thing. And it's
I've-
chicken
El
taco.
Pastor.
No,
that's not a chicken taco.
that's pork.
El Chicken.
Pollo.
Pollo.
El Pollo.
Pollo is chicken.
and it was the thing that was
it
unique.
It's like a double decker.
Yeah.
Right.
It
so
was
soft
it was
shell,
crunchy, and then
Yep.
the sauce.
and then they had a great
That's agave
spicy
rye.
sauce on it. That it
Yeah.
was like we both got the same tacos. We got a chicken and a steak, and both of us like the chicken more than the steak.
Yeah, yeah.
Like hands down.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
It was so.
No, I've
dang
talked
good.
about that taco a couple of times.
Yeah.
but you'd think I'd remember the name of it. We'll have to go back.
Well, we'll have to.
What is your favorite? I've never actually heard you share it because you always ask your guests. What is your favorite taco experience?
I mean, the simplest taco is a carne asada, some cilantro, a little bit of onion, and some
True.
Just a classic
True
street
Hispanic.
taco.
This is the classic street taco.
so your
Yeah.
wife's taco, right?
Yeah. You know, yeah. We've got a couple spots in town. I mean, I've told the taco stories. I've got a pile of them. But okay, I'll tell this. I was
Come
in
on.
Vegas for the first time, and a couple nights ago, and I'm out with Dub and Beth and my wife Karen, Dub and Beth Alexander. We're at a pretty nice place, and the taco was this big, and it was fried, and it was ahi tuna.
Oh, I get
And
down.
You could eat it in one bite. It was this big.
Mhm. Okay.
4 of them. We each got one, and you could eat. I took it slow because it was unbelievable.
If you're not watching, you're just listening. What he described was probably about an inch and a half
An
or
inch?
2
An
inch, so
inch
very
and a half.
small.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You
Very
could
small
have.
taco.
You
So
could have eaten
one
it
bite.
in one bite.
So when you
Okay.
hear him say one bite, he's not stuffing this huge taco into one bite ahi tuna.
I don't know even what they
Whole
cost.
tuna.
They probably
Little Dave
cost an
Ford,
arm.
one bite. Everybody knows the rules on these tacos.
Right. But it was that. It was. I don't know what they cost, but yeah. So that's a new taco story for me. Just had that with Dub and Beth Alexander, my
Nice.
wife. And
What was the sauce?
I don't know, it was some sort of glaze. Some sort of. It had a sweetness
Like
to it.
eel sauce, or
I don't know.
probably.
I. You know what?
I'm getting hungry.
I know, man. It was legit. So that's my taco story.
Nice.
Those
Nice.
are tacos. Hey, we close out our podcast on with one phrase. You want to do it? Somebody do it. How about
Yep.
we all do it at the same
Well,
time?
what is
So we're all going to do
The
our
kingdom
own
is for
phrases.
everyone.
Oh yeah. How do
Are we
you
gonna-
how do you close your
mine?
episodes?
If the kingdom isn't for everyone, then it's not for anyone.
Nice.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
The kingdom isn't for everyone. It's not for anyone.
Yeah, I need to hire you to do my closing. I love
Right?
it. God,
I know, right? Just the
Nice.
best.
Do you have
voice
an
in the
official
league.
closing for Rethinking God with Tacos?
Hey, man, it's nice to see you.
Love it.
Love you. Love you, man.
Great.
Love you.
it. All right.
It's great to see you. I didn't know I needed one, guys. I'm learning a whole lot today.
No, it's all good.
Hold on, I'll come up with one. We'll come back to that, but let's do yours because this
At
is,
one time together?
yeah. But remind me of it again.
It's you're loved and there's nothing you can do about
Come on, that's a great one. I can't use. Can I use that one?
it. Sure.
Okay,
No.
you're loved. All right, but we're gonna do
Ready?
it together right now.
1, 2, 3.
You're loved, and there's nothing you can do about it.